Hello folks, I do hope you're all well. Okay, episode 3 of Why All Things Were Better in My Day. Many of you will have seen episodes 1 and 2. We've covered some various subjects there. Number 2 was all music and acts within the 70s, or very, very close to the 70s. The first one, I can't remember what it was at all, but it went on for too long. So this one isn't going to. If you're looking for what the first one is, they're all in a playlist. The playlist is entitled Why All Things Were Better in My Day. And I'm exploring and I'm talking about why I think the time I grew up was much, much better than the time growing up that my kids had, and more importantly, today's times, what my grandkids are going through. And we're talking things like sport, we're talking things like music, film, we're talking TV, we're talking all kinds of TV, we're talking sweets, crisps, pop, cakes, biscuits, everything that means something to a kiddie when they're young. Now, it was all supposed to be about the 70s. We've moved it from 60s or mid-60s to all the way through the 70s and very, 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 very early 80s. I'm going to talk about things that I enjoyed and got things out of when I grew up. If you agree with me, give me a thumbs up and let me know. If there's anything you'd like to talk about more to do with the things I've mentioned, let me know. If there's anything I've missed off, forgotten about, let me know and we can discuss it. At the end of it all, we're going to do a rap video. Not a rap, I'm not going to sound like Eminem or anything like that, but we're going to wrap everything up with the things I've said and the things you've come back on and talked to me about. So, it's an open forum for yourselves as well as for me. Right, we'll start with, this one is going to be in the main about TV I used to watch, mainly British TV, growing up, mainly in the 70s, and much of it is British TV stuff. But because there's more TV stuff, I'll start first with the music and the sport from that era. We'll go music first, it's really short, because the TV part will take longer. We'll whip through all of this, it's not going to be long on this. Music, well, we had Top of the Pops, didn't we? Unfortunately, we had Uncle Jimmy there fronting it. We'll forget about him like we'll forget about Leader. They're gone. Forget them. Part them completely. But it was a good show. In the early days, it was a good show. It was a great show, Top of the Pops. It broke all barriers, didn't it? Then we had, my favourite one was one called Supersonic. I don't know if you remember, that was on ITV with the blonde-haired fellow. Was it Mike Mansfield or something? I'm pretty sure it was. I've genuinely not watched it, but I think it was. Supersonic was good. In Concert on BBC Two was really good. That was late 70s if memory serves. Revolver, that was alright. Rock Goes to College, it was really similar to In Concert. Really liked Rock Goes to College. And then the daddy of them all, the old grey whistle test. You could get anything and everything on there. You never knew what you were going to get from one week to the next. And the acts, many weeks, were so diverse, it became really, really exciting. You didn't know who was going to come on. You didn't know what they were going to do. And it got many of us liking acts that we'd never heard before. And you think, oh, I'm going to go and buy what they've just done. I like them. Yeah, great shop window it was. It was really, really good with old Whispering Bob Harris on the scene there. And Annie recently passed away, Annie Nightingale, when Bob was not so well, or on tour himself, and he had taken the reins. All right, it was a good show. And then we went from that to sport. Now sport, the daddy of them all, was Grandstand for me. Always brilliant. I love Grandstand. Now Frank, but I'm going to have to mention Frank Boff, and then we'll park him with Leader, and who's the one I just said? Just Uncle Jimmy. We'll park Frank up, but Frank wasn't as bad, was he? I think he paid for a few prostitutes and whatever else, but bit of sleaze, but nothing too bad. I don't think he harmed anybody, did he? I don't think he did. I hope he didn't anyway. If he did, I'm going to take it all back. Although I don't know how I can once this has gone live. Yeah, but I remember Grandstand because it was the premiere show on a Saturday. There was no adverts and whatever else. But I remember it as a rugby league lover. Loved rugby league all my life. And in the olden days, it was proper working blokes who liked to pint and didn't do much pumping the weights. They pumped a lot of beer down the... guzzled a lot of beer, but they didn't do much on the weights. They had bellies to match the amount of ale they were drinking, but they were a talented bunch, really talented. I would suggest they were more talented in my day than they are now, which is weird. You wouldn't expect that. In all sports, talent has got better as each generation has moved on. I'm not so sure it has in rugby league, but it was a great, great game. Always has been, always was. But it was played on mud batter. It was played in some atrocious conditions, but because of it, used to love it. And how did we have commentating Uncle Eddie Waring? Nothing wrong with Eddie, nothing wrong at all. And he could do a cracking somersault, as you've seen if you ever watched the old, what was it, the Markham and Wise show. Oh, a belting somersault. You went over a vault like nobody's business. Now, he had the old short, fat, hairy legs, a bit like Ernie Wise did old Eddie Waring, but God, he couldn't half move. You were shocked when you seen it. But I used to love the Rugby League, I really did, and it was on there virtually every Saturday that the season was on. And then, when it wasn't on, you had the Rugby Union with the internationals on. Now, in the old days, in the 70s, I used to watch Rugby Union a lot. But as much as anything else, for old Bill McLaren, he was fantastic, Bill. What a great commentator. They had all other sports on as well, including horse racing, which I love. But when I think of grandstand, I think of Rugby League and Rugby Union, I really do. Then on the other side, World of Sport with old Dickie Davies. I quite like Dickie, he was alright. Everybody likes a bit of Dickie, don't they? Well, I'll take that one back, because that one can sound bad, it's not meant to, but Dickie Davies, he was alright. He was alright, was Dickie. And I remember that for John Rickman, with the old racing, with the ITV7. I remember old John Rickman, I can remember that voice now, and he's been gone from our screens for many a year. But also the wrestling. Do you remember the wrestling, folks? Matt Manners and all those boys. Kendo Nagasaki. Hey, all of them. Before Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, they were great. Do you remember old Brian, what's his name? You know his name, out of Kess. He was a wrestler for a while, wasn't he, Brian? What's his name? I can't remember. You'll know it. Might not be Brian, I think it's Brian anyway. You'll know it. The one I remember, do you remember Tibor Zakash? Now, I bet you've all forgotten him, but I bet it's a name you remember. If you're from my age group, you'll remember it, but you'll have forgotten him. Now, weird story here, he had a brother called Zolly Zakash. Made a few quid for himself in that there. Oldham, not a million miles away from me here. I worked for Zolly for about 5, 6, 7 years. Lovely fella. Really, really liked him. He's going to come up in my life story, which is going to come to you probably, well, whenever I get to 3,000 subscribers. Probably 6 months away yet. When I get there, you're going to have like a live story. You might not want it, but you're going to get it whether you want it or not. In fact, if you don't want it, you just won't listen to it. But it's going to come out when I get to 3,000 subscribers. That's when I've decided to do it. And Zolly will play pretty heavily in that, to be honest with you. But nice fella, Zolly. Never met his brother Tibor, and I think he was another fella with a mask on, so I do not know what he looked like anyway. Hungarian, obviously, of course they were. With a name like that, they wouldn't be English, would they? But Zolly was a nice fella, and his wife was lovely as well. And his lad was nice, no problem with his lad. Anyway, so then we had sports night. Now I love sports night. I loved it for music as much as anything else. Sports night. Harry Carpenter. Yes, get in, Harry. I liked Harry. Your boxing commentator, but he did a lot more besides. Then David Coleman. And then did David Vine take over? I think he did. It only come to me later on that. I've not researched it, but I think he did. Anyway, sports night. I loved it. Who can forget that night a long, long time in the 70s when Eric went into the crowd and tried to decapitate Matthew? I can't remember his last name. Don't want to remember it. He shouldn't be shouting naughty things about Eric and his mother. Eric put him right. Don't worry about that. You wouldn't get away with that today, folks, would you? You'd get banned for life today. How we ever came back, I never know. I never knew. He knew because he could talk to the Pilchers, the Seagulls and all that palaver. He knew loads did Eric. Very clever man. But yeah, he came back. And then Floodlit Rugby League. I'm sorry talking about Rugby League again, folks, but I loved it. Floodlit Rugby League. I think it was a Tuesday night. I might be wrong. Just loved it. Now, I'll tell you why I love that. I used to go watch it with my uncle. I've mentioned him before. I'm going to mention him again in a later video. Because my uncle has got a tie-in for with Wilfred Pickles and what's the lady's name? Good God, how can I not remember it? It'll come to me. You'll know who it is. I can't think of her name. Good God, I can't. Anyway, Wilfred, you know who he acted with it, and that's who I'm thinking of. I just can't think of it. But yeah, Floodlit Rugby League. I think it was a Tuesday night. Used to absolutely love it. My uncle lived 2 doors away. He got me into rugby. Big rugby league fan that he was. I became it from a very early age. And every Tuesday night he'd come out of the house about 5:30, 6 o'clock. You coming over for rugby after? Oh, yeah, I'll be there, don't worry. Right, well, come when you want. Well, I'm just having me tea. Well, come as soon as you've had your tea. Now, why I remember it, folks, was before it, on a Tuesday night, do you know what they always had before it? Nearly every time it was on. The High Chaparral. The High Chaparral was always on before the Floodlit Rugby League. Probably my favourite series as a kid out of that there America. I used to love it. But as much as anything else, it's because I associate it with Floodlit Rugby League. But also, Buck Cannon. I mean, I love Buck Cannon. Who couldn't love Buck? He was brilliant. Floodlit Rugby League, and then it was that. Now, if I was at my uncle's early, I might be wrong, but before Floodlit Rugby League, I'm pretty certain it was old Fanny Craddock. I'm sure Fanny was on Peddling Awares before the High Chaparral. I'm sure Fanny was doing something with food. Fanny Craddock, Floodlit Rugby League. No, Fanny Craddock, the High Chaparral, Floodlit Rugby League. I'm sure she was. Right, anyway, I used to love it. Enough about that, because we've got to get onto the TV yet. But before that, the last sporting great from that time, from that era, from the 70s, Pop Black! Who could forget Pop Black? With Whispering Ted Lowe. Oh, aye, he could whisper with the best of them, could Ted. He was great. Do you remember that famous saying? I don't remember it properly, so I'm going to make it up, but it's along these lines. For those of you watching in black and white, the blue is the ball right behind the pink. And we're all going, where's the pink? Where's the pink, Ted? Come on, Ted, point it out. Let us know where the pink is. If you don't tell us where the pink is, we're not going to know where the blue is, are we? We've got black and white, man. I don't know. Sometimes they don't think, these commentators, do they? They've got a bit of candy themselves. They've got a few cut themselves. They've got a colour telly. They know what's what. Man, you Ted, didn't matter what telly he had. He's in arena. He can see where the blue and the black is and the yellow and the green. We don't know. Us black and whiters, we've not got a clue. Not got a clue. Anyway, I used to enjoy it, especially when the hurricane was on. I'd always watch it when Alex was on. Oh yes, used to love it, and I love the music to that as well. So we've done music. We've done sport. Let's go with TV. Before we do, I've done one extra page on the TV. There it is. No, I've not. Yes, I have. No, I've not. Yes, I have. Yes. Right. I've got one separate page here. I've got 3 shows to mention to do with TV. It's just because they're out of order, so I'll mention them now. The comedians. Remember the comedians with old Bernard Manning, George Roper, Freddie Parrotface Davis, not Kenneth Williams. You know what I mean. You know what I mean, don't you? All of them anyway. They were grand. The comedians were grand. And from that spawned the wheel tappers and shunters. Colin Crompton there with his old bell asking for order. Order! He was doing all that. Bernard was often the compere there. They had many, many acts on. I think it's where we first seen Cannonball. Then from there they got their own show. I checked it up. Was it in the 70s like it was? 79 their show started. So all came from one to the other. Now I'm mentioning them out of turn because that's all that's on there. We had the music. And we had, you can see that. If you can't see that, it doesn't matter. There we go. Already written down. Right, but now we'll go with all the shows. We'll go the shows from, some from the 60s probably that went on into the 70s. Most from the 70s. The odd one from the very, very, very early 80s. These are the kind of shows I was watching that I loved as a kid. I bet you did too. Markham and Wise. Who could beat Eric and Ernie? Just absolute brilliant. Goldust. Just a fantastic double act. And what a lovely, lovely man it was. I wanted to be Eric. Again, go back to my uncle. My uncle reminded me very much of Eric, although my uncle was about 8 inches taller than Eric. My uncle was about 6'5". Eric was probably about 5'10". Anyway, Malcolm and Wise, love them. The Two Ronnies. Oh, I love the Two Ronnies. Little and Large. Well, you'd have to say they were a poor man's Two Ronnies, Little and Large, but they weren't that bad. In the day, they weren't that bad. I'll tell you what. Today, they'd be absolute superstars with what's out there now, but they weren't that bad. They wasn't as good as the rest, but they weren't that bad. I think probably the thing was, I think with Markham and Wise, you'd had Ernie playing the straight man. With the Two Ronnies, to a great extent, I would imagine you could say you had old Mr. Corbett playing the straight man, although he could be funny himself. With Little and Large, you had the little one. And he weren't that funny, old Sid. He weren't that funny. You know, he wasn't bad, but he weren't that funny. And maybe old Eddie went a bit over the top. I don't know. They weren't that bad. Tommy Cooper. Who could not like Tommy? Tommy Cooper, brilliant. Dave Allen, half a finger, but a full-time comedian and a great job. Belting comedian. Mike Yarwood, probably the greatest, is it impersonator of all time? Is that what it is, isn't it? I think it is. Mind you, he had more material to work with then. Politics then, there was only a couple of stations on the TV, there were 3. We knew all the politicians, they were all characters. You know, for different reasons than the characters today. They were in our lives for a lot longer than the politicians of today are, and we just knew more of them. And they were great to impersonate, and he did it well. Dick Emery, someone mentioned Dick Emery the other day. I absolutely loved Dick Emery. Maybe that tells you all you need to know about me, about maybe I've got a bit of toilet humour. I loved Dick Emery. I thought Dick Emery was really, really, really funny. I loved him. One of my favourite shows on the box growing up. I seen about half an hour of one of his shows about 6 months ago. I don't know how I did, but I did. Still stood up for me. I still liked it. I mean, they'll never have it on the TV again, along with many of the comedy shows we're going to do in the later video. But they should. There should be a channel that shows all the old stuff and all of it uncut. And like John Cleese said, if people don't like it, give them a disclaimer at the start. This was humour of its day. If you no like it, don't press your button or get rid. Come out of it. Watch something else. But there's many out there that want to watch it, missus. So we're going to watch it. Now, disclaimer over. Let's start the show. That's how it should go. Stanley Baxter. Now, I didn't watch a lot of Stanley Baxter. I wasn't an avid fan, but I know he's brilliant. I know he was very clever. Massive production numbers. I've only heard since how much they spent on it. They spent fortunes on it there at the old ITV. But I've seen a show or two since the Stanley Baxters. Really clever man, nice fella. Then we go a bit of entertainment. You got your Generation Game. Who could forget that? The staple of a Saturday night. Probably, I would suggest, probably the best entertainment show that's ever been on a Saturday night. It probably would be. Brucey, absolutely brilliant. Larry Grayson, a lot knocked him. Larry was fantastic at it, absolutely fantastic. I've done the look of the dirt on here joke and the shut that door already this week, so I'm not going to do it again, but I like Larry, I liked him a lot. And then later, I think Jim Davidson did it. Somebody forgot that the other day, but Jim did it as well. Yeah, and then we had like the Golden Shot, Bob Monkhouse, and then was it Old Vaughan, the old Cadbury's Growing, he did it, didn't he? And somebody else, I think, did that, and I can't think who, but then they got Bob back because they wanted the governor back, and Bob came back and did it then. Then we had a bit of Bully with Jim Bowen. Now, I've checked that out, it wasn't the 70s, but it was only 81. We're letting 81, 82 go. So, Jim, we're getting you in, Jim. You're in there with a bit of Bullseye. Then we had the talent shows. Who could forget old Opportunity Knox? That was your leader, wasn't it, with old Huey Green there? Huey was Opportunity Knox. He was your main one. And then you had new faces, didn't you? New face, Nina Mishkow. She was, yes, she was. She was. But that was a name as well. Yeah, Nina and a couple of others. Tony Hatch, he was on there. Yeah. He did the theme tunes. He was Dennis Waterman of his day. Didn't he do the theme tune to Crossroads? I think he did. And then we had, like, I left Crossroads off here, but it was good in its own way. Shuey McPhee and whatever else. I left Crossroads off here. I shouldn't have done so. I've just mentioned it. Coronation Street. What a show. What a show. Some not Coronation Street. You go to that golden era of Coronation Street with old Violet Carson, Pat Phoenix and all of those. Was it Doris Speed and all? You can't beat it. You know, there's never been better. There's never, ever been better. I said the name about 3 months ago, folks. You may have missed it. I watched an episode of that on that there YouTube. I think it was 2 episodes from the 1970s. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And all the episode was, the bulk of it was Hilda not being happy with how Stan was coming down for his breakfast in the morning. And it was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And she said, right, if you don't come down dressed tomorrow, I'm not going to make you any breakfast. Stan thought she was winding him up. Little did he know, as soon as he came down there, no breakfast. Go and put a shirt on, you can have some breakfast. Well, I don't like that flowery shirt you bought me for Christmas. I look like a right Jessie in it. Well, go and put something else on. It's the only one I've got. Well, if you're not decent, you're having no breakfast. He learnt out of his ways. He wanted his breakfast. He'd stand. He liked to go cook breakfast. He went and put a shirt on. Rita, I can't remember her name then. She's had so many names in it, Rita. She was still in it them days. With old Len Fair. Len, we'll put Len over there. With who we've got over there now? We've got Uncle Jimmy. We've got leader of the gang. We've sort of got, I said somebody else, but I don't think, Frank Boff, I don't think he was that bad. I think he's not in the right company there. He could be an in-betweener. We'll get them two over there. We'll get Frank here on his own. And Len, he'll have to go with them two. Because it was swimming pool and I think it was kids. Len will have to go over there, sorry. But it was a shame because he was a good actor, was Len. I like Len Fairclough. He was with Rita at the time and she wanted a freezer. He actually told it cost 179 quid at the time. She wanted a freezer and he never had the money to get her one. There was that and there was something happening in the Rovers. There was something happening in the Rovers and I can't think what it was. I'll tell you what it was. I think Gail had been on a blind date and I think the blind date hadn't turned up. So that was the half-an-hour show. That's all that was in the show. Nothing else. Nothing else in the whole show. Because then they didn't have loads of cameras. They couldn't flip from here to there to there to there. They had to have had anything every show. But it was acted so well, you never thought you were getting shortchanged. Because the actors in it then were brilliant. There wasn't any better. There's never been better in any soap ever. Never. And then after that, you have the old Brookside. Now, that was 82. It was on our cut-off point. But I'm putting it in because it was brilliant. Brookside was a good show. So that packs them up. And then you've got the British dramas. Now, some of these weren't that good. Some of these, you'd look at them now and you'd laugh. But we enjoyed them. Now, there'll be someone that I've missed. If I've missed a name, you liked them, tell me. And I'll tell you if I liked them or not. Anyway, we'll go with The Saint. Not the Ian Ogilvy one. No. We'll put James Bond in there. We'll go with that one. Then The Avengers. I mentioned it the other day. Emma Peel. Emma. The Avengers. I love The Avengers. Old John Steed. Then The Champions. You remember The Champions? I seen about 4 or 5 episodes from the first series about 6 months ago. I think they were on Talking Pictures TV. it hasn't stood up well, I must admit. And the backdrops look pretty poor. But I like the main guy. I think it was called Stewart in it. I can't remember his name. I think he was American. Then you had the British actor. I can't remember his name. And then you had the young lady. I remember her name. Alexander Bastedo. Whoa, ho, ho. I remember her. She was nothing of an appeal for me. I liked her growing up. I liked her a lot. I think in later life she played a little part in EastEnders. But didn't last that long there. Oh, aye, Alexander Bastedo. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'll give you a fact here that many of you might not know. Some of you will. Many of you won't. And then I'll give you somebody else from. We've just seen Finders Keepers. Remember Finders Keepers? I mentioned it a couple of days ago. I've told people not to watch it. Faye Ripley's on that one. You know Faye Ripley? She used to be in Cold Feet. Well, do you know her and Alexander Bastedo have got something in common? I bet you didn't. But I'm going to tell you now. Alexander, I think you've died now if you have no problem, love. If you're still alive, cover your ears. Faye, cover your ears. You're not going to like the next bit. Yes. A mate of mine told me about 4 or 5 years ago now. He said, do you know Alexander Bastedo? You know the big problem with her? I said, no, what was that? He said, walking. I said, what do you mean walking? She couldn't walk. I said, what do you mean she couldn't walk? He said, she had weird legs. Gorgeous looking, lovely looking lady. But when she walked, she looked weird. Very, very bad walk. I've seen her since. He's not wrong. She's the same Faye Ripley. You never see her other than from the waist up. If you see her walking, you might see her from behind, but you don't really see her walking. The camera never does a full shot of her walking, because when she walks, she looks weird. I know it's awful to say, but she does. And I think the cameras, the directors know that, or she knows that, and she says, don't film it, or they can see it themselves, and they don't. But she walks weird, as does Alexander Bastedo. Used to love Alexander Bastedo. Thought she was fantastic. I hope I've said the name correctly. I think I have. The Sweeney. Who could forget Sweeney? One of the greatest shows of our time. Just a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant cop show. Again, I must be sad. I've seen, in the couple of years I had off with Hill, although I had put the bulk of it off, I've seen nearly all of them from start to finish. I loved it. And what I loved about it was John Thorne. I thought he was brilliant. I just thought he was brilliant. And it's weird. Seeing John Thorne in something a good few years ago now, and my old man said, he's all right, but he overacts. I thought, does he? And I've always thought since he does. And he sort of does. But he's recognised as being a great actor. Everyone says he's a great actor. And I think he is too. But there's times when he does overact. But I don't mind it because he's so good. Now, I've not seen him in the one... Is it Lewis? That's the one after. You know which one I mean, don't you? The one in Oxford where he plays. I've never seen any of them. I need to watch them all. I'm going to do one day. I need to watch them all. Can't think what it's called, but you folks, you'll know. But I seen him in Cavanagh QC, was it? Where he was the old barrister. Watched all of them, loved it. Thought Cavanagh QC was brilliant. And was it Goodbye Uncle Tom, or whatever it's called? The World War thing. Absolutely brilliant. One of my daughters loved that. It's one of her favourite shows. That was probably 80s or 90s, that one now. Was it Goodbye Mr. Tom or something? I can't think what it's called. Anyway, I digress. I do it regularly. But The Sweeney, absolutely loved it. One of my favourite shows of all time. Way ahead of its time, if you ask me. Minder, another brilliant vehicle. For George Cole, fantastic. Old Dennis wasn't so bad then. He got to sing the theme tune, but George Cole, undoubted star of the show, fantastic. Shoestring, not bad. Not bad in its day. It's one I really liked, although I barely remember it. But there's something about it I liked. I think I like the music and I like the look of the main guy. I bet you don't remember this one, many of you. Man in a Suitcase. Remember Man in a Suitcase? I love Man in a Suitcase. The Persuade does a bit more candy flossy, you know what I mean, but it had Curtis and Roger Moore, so it had all the locations. Seen a couple of them not long ago. Can't say they've stood up really well, but not bad. What was after it? Was it the Proclaimers, was it? Was it with the boy from Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Man from U.N.C.L.E.! I've left that off here! Well, it wasn't British, was it? Was it? He was American, the other fellow. I think it was British. Man from U.N.C.L.E., I'm adding Man from U.N.C.L.E. Do you mind if I add Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Kuriakin, I'm adding that one. Man from U.N.C.L.E., that's on here as well. It wasn't, but it is now. Man from U.N.C.L.E., we'll put that on here. See? It's easy to forget things. Jason King, he was well over the top. Department S, old Jason with the old... did he have the old gold chains, the old cufflinks, the big cuffs? Big collars, they were collars and half, they were. The perm, he had it all, did Jason. Oh, Jason King, Department S. Probably wasn't that good. Probably it was on the same kind of league as the Champions. But I still liked it. And then we got a bit of drama. How Green Was My Valley. Do you remember that? How Green Was My Valley? That was brilliant. The Mines in South Wales. Now again, BBC4. I had it on about 4 months ago. So I only have 2 series of that. Watched the whole first series. They've not shown the second. I don't know why. Now, do you remember who was the lead in that? Apart from the lady that's still with us now, God, I know her name dead well. It's not going to come to me. It's another one that's not going to come to me. But the lead in that was Stanley Baker. Do you remember old Stanley Baker? He was the dad there. He was the dad. Now, if memory serves, I think he died at the end of Series 1. I don't think he made Series 2. He was only mid-40s, I think, late 40s, Stanley. Brilliant actor. Died young. What a great shame. What a great shame. And Claudius. We weren't supposed to be watching that, I don't think, us young ones, but we did. Well, I did. A lot of it was like that, through, pretending not to see the naked scenes. But I've seen many of them. It never scared me at all. No, not at all. Play for Today, that was a great series, wasn't it? It was always good, Play for Today. I used to like Play for Today, I really did. They had some cracking things there. Rock Follies, was that in the 70s? I think it probably was. I've not checked that, but that was good, Rock Follies. But as I say, I've not checked it. Sam. You remember Sam, don't you? That was the Mines. But was that in Yorkshire way or in Lancashire way? I think it was Yorkshire, that. Or was it Wales again? Do you know, I can't remember. But Sam, that was a good show. Now, there's one here I remember, but I don't. Now, I say that. I've had one in my mind for years now. There's one series I watched when I was a kid. When I say kid, I'd have been about probably 13, 14, I'm guessing. And I'm never sure what it was called. I think it's the name I'm going to give you in a minute, but it might not be. The name I'm going to give you in a minute, I looked at it since and it only had one series, so it could have been that, but I thought it played longer than one series, the one I'm thinking of, so it might not be this one. But none of you will be able to tell me what it is, because I don't know myself. But I think it was like espionage and drama. Anyway, it could be Spider's Web. It could be Spider's Web, but I don't know. But I put it in there because it could be. But whatever series it was I'm thinking of, I really enjoyed it, but I don't know what it was called. So that's a bit weird, isn't it? But I'm saying it anyway. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That was the old, what's it one? Yeah, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And then Randall and Upkirk. Deceased. And I will be if it goes over 30 minutes this, because you've been complaining it's taking too long and we're on 26 minutes 50. So Irene Handel. That's who I was looking at before. Before what I mentioned, Wilfred Pickles, Irene Handel. I was looking at her. And I can't think of that Welsh actress who's Shan Williams? Maybe not. Who starred in How Green Was My Valley with Stanley Baker? There's no point telling me because I'll Google it when I've gone off here. But lovely looking actress, a lot older now. She's in the 90s now, I think. Lovely looking in her day. She played the old mother there, running the family. Great actress. I think I tell you what. I think she was married to Peter O'Toole. I think she was. I think she had to bin him in the end because his drinking was excessive. I'm sure she was married to Peter O'Toole, but I could be wrong. Good looking lady she was. Welsh. Oh, aye, very Welsh. But yeah. That's it, and that's all I'm going to give you for that, and we're on 27.5 minutes. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to record another one that's going to come out tomorrow. So I'm going to give you this one, 8:30. You'll get this one at 8:30. You'll get 9 o'clock. This will be out at 9 o'clock tonight, and I'll get you another one for 9 o'clock tomorrow. Then there'll be 2 more to follow that'll all come out later this week. This shouldn't have been out today, folks. Shouldn't have even been recorded. But as I say, I've been let down with my Q&A, my second Q&A, so I had to put something in its place, and you got this one. Hope you've enjoyed it. Any comments down below? That's what it's there for. Tell me what I've missed. Tell me what I've not. Tell me what you like out of the ones I've mentioned. Tell me what you don't. Okay? I'll leave it with you, folks. Hope you're all well.